Hey guys, Comet here. Welcome back to Auction Not Included with my needy duplicants. In the last episode, I put in this arbor tree farm over here with integrated slickster and pip branches. Now there's a couple of changes I made between episodes. Mainly the way I handle the eggs. I don't think I had that quite sorted out in the last episode, but all I'm doing is shipping out the eggs here from the slicksters up to these incubators here on the sides. And these incubators are controlled by automation that leads back down into the farms here to some critter sensors. And these are set to send a green signal if the farm count ever drops below 8 critters, not counting any eggs. So one of these critter sensors will generate a request that will be sent back up to these incubators, and the incubators will then intercept any outgoing eggs because they are on a higher priority than the loader. And it's the exact same idea for the pips up here. Here is the new shipping overlay. So there's no filter here anymore. I just drop everything off with a chute, and then I have the auto sweeper sort the eggs and wood into the various loaders so that they go to where they need to go. And then likewise, the automation just all links up together. So one of these critter sensors is sending a request to the incubators right now because they're green. I also did a little bit of work down here at the bottom. I got all of the liquids cleaned up, and I put in some auto sweepers to start cleaning up all of this debris down here. I don't want my duplicants to be spending their time on that. I also want to get all of this CO2 cleaned up, so I've got some carbon skimmers down here just to take care of the last little bits of CO2. I've got this geyser outputting CO2 a little bit. It's not that much. And then I also got these oil refineries into some isolated atmospheres here, so they can never overpressurize. They just output their natural gas into this little area here, and this is just a way of doing infinite storage. I don't really like to do infinite storages, but since it's outputting into such a large area, I'm going to use the entire bottom of the map here as like a natural gas reservoir. Now that you're all caught up, I can get into the details for this episode. I want to get in some housing units. I don't like where my duplicants are right now. I don't have any more ranches here, so this space is free. I can extend this transit spine up and connect in to here to continue it, but that would displace some of these duplicants. So I want to get in the permanent housing location, and there's a really good spot over in this area and over in this area. Now, to get up to this area, my duplicants have to come down through the Atmosuit docks, around, and then up. I don't like that. That's really inefficient. So what I'm going to do is put in a second location for Atmosuits right here. That way they can use this door and just go up this ladder, and that'll be really quick access to this area. That'll increase the build speed of the housing unit. They do have to be in Atmosuits because I'm going to be getting into some of this slime here, and this slime has a lot of germs on it. So it's not to protect them against any temperature, it's to protect them against disease. So I'll switch this out to mesh tiling. I need to redirect the natural gas, get it out of the way, and then somehow steal some oxygen here. I think I'll just take some from this pipe and some from this pipe. And I can't actually fit my bridge pattern here without getting into the hot room there, so I think I'm just gonna do something like this, where this can feed every other, and then this one can feed every other. So I will extend up this ladder. I'm not exactly sure the dimensions quite yet. I know the wall on the left side needs to be calibrated to the distance for this saltwater geyser. So if I start from the ladder, come out 30 blocks, that would give me just enough space in between this insulation and the insulation of the housing unit wall. And then flooring-wise, if I come above this geyser here on this side, I would have to come above on this side as well. So I come out 30, start here at this height. 30 is right there. Yeah, there we go. So that's the corner. Spacing-wise, I want to have some gold tiling here to hide the decor debuff from the insulated tiling. Then I'm going to want a fire pole, and we'll make this out of gold amalgam. Again, we want to keep decor in mind. And then a plastic ladder. And then that will start the flooring. And I'll use mesh tiles for now. And then I'll start the bedrooms. Now I want these to be private bedrooms. If we look at the requirements for the private bedroom, it has a minimum size of 24 tiles and a minimum height of 4 tiles. So that fits within my predefined base already, 4 tiles tall. These floors can just line up with the ladder floors over here. So then to hit the 24 minimum, if I just divide the 24 by 4, that would give me 6 tiles long for each room. So something like this would work as a private bedroom. And then I could stack that out several times. And the goal I have in mind, I want to eventually house every unique duplicant, including the bionic duplicants. And that totals to like 50 or so. So if I have 2 housing units, that would be 25 in each. But 25 is only divisible by 5. So I would have to do like 5 floors of 5 beds each. That's a really tall housing unit. I don't like that. If I increase it to 26 duplicants, well then I can divide 26 by 2 or 13. That's also not great. But 27 is divisible by 9 and 3. And that works. I could do 3 floors, 9 beds each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I just need to convert this ladder over to plastic. I'll get in the fire pole, the metal tiling, and then the ceramic, and that is the total width of the housing unit. I'll have like a maintenance floor here where all of the transformers and stuff can go. This floor here, this will be the cold room and the banquet hall. Then above that, I'll have like a rec room and then the hot room where the aqua tuners go. And then above that, I could do like another rec room and then steam turbines. And then start the 3 floors of bedrooms. And then the very top, the final floor, that will be the entry point. So I'll just have some transit tube access points up here. I'll force the duplicants to run all the way to the right side, and come down this ladder. And if I put in a nature reserve right here in the corner, they'll always be passing through it to go complete their tasks. And the nature reserve gives +6 morale. So I will take that free morale. I'm also going to get in a few deodorizers, just to get a head start on cleaning up a lot of this oxygen. Because I don't want to be putting my duplicants into a unit that is full of polluted oxygen and slime lung. That would be bad. Alright, now that I've got some space to work with here, I can get in some of the specifics. So, pneumatic door, gold amalgam for the decor. This will start the first bedroom. Same spacing as what I demonstrated earlier. Now this has to have back wall tiles. So that's drywall, or even temp shift plates would actually work. But those are really expensive, so I'm just going to do drywall. And I've got a lot of options here. I think I'm going to go with the ice panel. It has some nice texture to it. And I'm going to make that out of wood for the decor. And then this also needs 2 decor buildings, so that can be done with paintings or statues. I'm going to do both. I'm going to put paintings and statues. I'm going to use the large sculpting block for now. Eventually I will swap it out to a gold metal block. I just don't have enough gold for that yet. So this is fine for now. And then let's fit a painting made of gold. That is off center. Okay, let's do 2 small ones. There we go. And I can't forget about ventilation. So in the corners here, I'll just put in some spots for oxygen to come out. And the pipes can just come from the outside there. Alright, and this will be my standard bedroom design. I think one last thing I'll change is the flooring. Carpeted tile is fantastic to put underneath the bed, at least that tile specifically, because when a duplicant is sleeping, it counts as them being on top of this tile, so they'll get the stress debuff from the tile while they're sleeping, and getting even more stress reduced from sleeping. So at the very minimum, you should always put at least a carpeted tile right here underneath the bed to increase stress relief. But I'm actually going to do the whole bedroom, and to improve airflow, I'm just going to switch these over to airflow tiles. So I will take this basic design and copy it a whole bunch. So this is almost cleaned up now. Still just a little bit of debris and polluted oxygen in here. Nothing these deodors just can't handle. I'm going to leave these mesh tiles in place so that the polluted oxygen can intermingle. The polluted oxygen will end up at the top eventually and get cleaned up. So I'm not going to put in the carpeting tile until the very end. What I want to do next is go over the cooling system. So this bed right here is the center bed. I want to have 2 steam turbines to keep everything symmetrical. This will be the hot room here, where the aqua tuner goes. Just right there in the center. This will be the cold box, where the food is held. And rather than running a second aqua tuner for the base cooling loop, I'm actually just going to run that water through some metal tiling here. And some radiant piping. So it can just go through the cold room to drop off its heat, and this aqua tuner will take that heat and put it into the hot box. I think that's simpler than running 2 loops. And to control which direction the polluted water goes, I'm just going to have a liquid shutoff with a thermosensor on one end, and it will determine which path the water takes, either through the cold loop or just through the bypass. And then to prevent any weird circulation stuff, I'm just going to put in a bridge here. I'll use granite piping for the majority of the runs, but when I get to the metal tiling here, I want to switch over to radiant piping. and then back to granite. And then radiant piping there, back to granite. You get the idea. I think I'll come down, hit the turbines, and then come back up. And then across the top. And this is all out of granite, not igneous rock, because granite has a little bit better thermal conductivity. I don't want to use radiant piping throughout the whole loop. First of all, because it's expensive, but second of all, I want to preserve some of the coolness of the liquid as it's going throughout the base. That way it has some kind of temperature difference throughout the whole loop. It's not going to drop off a whole bunch of cooling right here, because it's going to be very cold when it comes out initially right here. And I'm not going to use polluted water. That was my first thought, but if this is going to be a really cold room, I don't want these radiant pipes to break when the valve trips and it's redirected. So then I was thinking, well, I could just use petroleum, right? But petroleum doesn't have a very good specific heat capacity. The best liquid I have right now for this specific use case is actually ethanol. If we take a look at properties of ethanol, it has a thermal conductivity of 0.171. That's not the relevant part. What is relevant is the specific heat capacity of 2.4. If we take a look at petroleum, it has a specific heat capacity of 1.7. It does have a higher thermal conductivity, but again, I don't want it to be dropping off a lot of its heat or a lot of its coolness when it first leaves the chill box. I want it to hold on to that temperature differential throughout the whole loop. So I want something with a higher specific heat capacity, and thermal conductivity is kind of irrelevant. Polluted water is the best material for this if temperatures weren't so low. That forces me to be a little more creative. And ethanol and petroleum are the only ones that have a low enough freezing point. Ethanol is at -114, which is excellent. And it looks like the polluted water is bugging me again. Okay. And to fill this, I'm actually just going to use a bottle drainer. I'll get in over here. Bottle filler. I don't have much room. Okay. I'm going to steal some of this ethanol into a bottle filler. Yeah, I like that. Then I'm also going to use ethanol in the aqua tuner loop. So let's get that in place. I need to have a bypass. This will all be radiant piping down here. Then it'll switch to insulated. Go into the aqua tuner, through the bypass, and down there. Okay. Then I want this to turn on if the ethanol is ever too warm. And I want the temperature here to be very stable, because this is piles and piles of food we're talking about here. I don't want any of this to spoil. So I'm going to use a lot of shift plates so that temperature is really stable. And then I'm just going to fill this room with a bunch of hydrogen gas, because it is the sterile gas that has the highest thermal conductivity. Now, the way I'm going to get food in and out of this chamber here is really important. I want to put a tile here. This spot right here will be like a liquid lock with a little blob of crude oil. All of the food will sit right here on this tile. If we look at the maximum size for a banquet hall is 120 tiles. This right here is already 100. So I've only got 20 tiles left. This is 30, so that's 130. And 131 right here. So I need to separate this. Otherwise this won't qualify as a banquet hall. So I'm going to get in a chute right here. And then exactly this tile here where all the food sits, after it's been chilled, will be a vacuum. And then this room here will be 102 tiles. So I'll get in a bottle emptier here. I'll put in some crude oil. I could actually use naphtha. I have naphtha. Let's try that. I think that's less viscous than crude oil. It might stay in place better. The outputs of the steam turbines can just come straight down. And I want to keep the plumbing here as simple as possible. I can deconstruct this tile, and I should be left with a vacuum right here. That way no heat can leak in to the cold room, except through the liquid shutoff when I need it to. Yes, and that is a vacuum now. And then Dupes can reach in, grab stuff that's in here, just like that. And this is a perfect place to store all of my deep frozen food. And it won't interfere with the room sizing for the banquet hall. So I will sketch that out here. I can fit 1, 2, I think 4 communal tables here. What are the requirements for a banquet hall? Let's see. So communal table, maximum size 120, decor building, recreational building, and a displayed ornament. Okay. Things must be symmetrical. So I'll come one away, one there. There we go. Now I have my 3 tiles. Okay, let's try this again. So, espresso machine. I'll get in a sculpting block here and here. And then I need a display shelf, which must be built on a back wall. Okay, so I need some drywall here. Let's do out of wood. Maybe let's try the southwest pattern. That might look nice for a dining hall. And then right above this is where I want to put all of the bathrooms. So we'll get in some sinks out of gold amalgam. I want to keep decor in mind. Let's get in a lavatory also made of gold amalgam. And then right here, there's actually just enough room left for some showers. I don't know the temperature of the incoming clean water to feed all of this, and I want it to not have any impact on the cooling loop. So I'm going to use insulated tiling here for the input and output. I'll use a bridge just to jump over the cooling loop there to get some water into the espresso machine. And then up here, above that, this can be the rec room. Now the rec room has a maximum size of 96. So it's actually 1 tile short. It has to come in a little bit. And putting some doors here is the easiest way to do that. We'll get in some fun stuff for the duplicants here. So let's get in a jukebot. Let's get in an arcade cabinet. I'll make that out of gold. And I've had some really bad luck with the hot tub. I can never get this thing to work. I'm going to stay away from that. The sauna is only +2 morale. I don't think it's worth all the infrastructure. Same with the mechanical surfboard. This splashes some water onto the ground, and it requires maintenance. I don't want to have to deal with that. The vertical wind tunnel, this one's interesting. It gives +5 morale. This might be worth considering, but what's actually easier than all of that is just the beach chair. This gives +5 morale with a dim light, and if I use the sun lamp, then it would give +8 morale, which is huge. And these, I'm actually going to stick right here. Once I get some glass, I can put glass across the top here. And then the sun lamps will fit nicely on top of that. Now to get duplicants in and out of this thing, I'm going to come up to here to the top left and put in a bunch of transit tube docks, or transit tube access points. And those can just run out of the wall. Right here. I'll need to run in power right here. Just gonna use a heavy watt conductive wire. Then I need space for 27 docks, as well as some space for a little nature reserve right here. And those have to be wild-grown plants, so I'm going to use some pips and some natural tiles. We'll put the first plant here, skip 2, next plant here, skip 2, next plant here, skip 2, next plant here, and then the door will be here. So that'll give me enough space for 1, 2, 3, 4 plants. That is the minimum requirement for the nature reserve. And then this is where I could start all of the docks. So let's count out 27 of these. Then I need to leave a gap for a checkpoint. And then I'm going to have a door to control permissions. I plan on having 2 of these units, and I don't want any duplicants from the other unit trying to get into here and screwing up my dock count, because then I'll just end up with Atmo suits on the ground, and dupes can't get out, and it's not fun. This leaves me with just enough space to put in a carbon skimmer right here. When duplicants take off their suit, they drop all of the CO2 that they've accumulated through all their travels. And I don't want that to build up here in this area. I want something to process it. So we'll need to bring in some clean water and ship out some polluted water. For the flooring across the top, I think I'm actually going to do some wood tiles. These have nice decor and run speed bonuses. So I'll just run that all the way over to the nature reserve. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do for the flooring there, but I need to get all of this converted over to carpeted tiling. I'll just throw in some airflow tiles between all of the gaps. I guess I could also use wood flooring here for the banquet hall. That makes sense. And the arcade room. I think I might just use regular granite tiling for the bathrooms. And for the background decor, let's do aqua plaid for the bathroom. Nice blue color. And then for the arcade room, well, I mean, I have to go with arcade, right? I think I'll use, like, this pastel blue for the beach chair room. Just so it looks like the color of the sky. They're going to be spending a lot of time in these chairs when they go to use them, so this might not be a bad place for carpeted tiling. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with this room. I think I might use it for... if I take on some bionic duplicants, those are a little different. They need the lubrication station and a gunk extractor. So I could reserve this area for bionic duplicants. I don't think they actually use beds like normal duplicants do either. They defrag instead of sleep. But it's going to take them a long time to finish up everything that I've queued here, so I will be right back once they're all done with this, and I'll get working onto the next step. Well, that felt like an eternity, but they've completed all the stuff I put in. I am slowly filling up these cooling loops. All of the polluted oxygen is basically gone now, and all of the slime lung has died off. Now that I have these in place, I think it's time to connect this in to the main transport spine and let the duplicants sleep in here. Now pressure is still a little high, so they will get popped eardrums. But once enough of them are in here, they'll quickly consume all of this oxygen and bring it back down to normal levels. The carpeted tiling will almost completely counteract the popped eardrums effect. So I will extend this transit tube out to the center. I'm gonna need to get oxygen up to here. And I'm just gonna use the already existing oxygen machines that I have back over here. I'll need to put in a second one eventually up here to feed this whole unit. This whole unit is gonna take both of these, the 6 pipes of oxygen. Mostly for the atmosuit docks, but a little bit for the base. Now to feed all of these docks with oxygen, I'm gonna do the double bridge thing, but I'm gonna feed it from 2 different sides. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 pipes of throughput. Which may seem like a lot, but these duplicants, being entirely mouth breathers, will require this much throughput. So this will go into about the halfway point, and then these pipes here from the back will take over. Then these 2 pipes here can just come over and feed 1, 2, 3. This one can feed 1, 2, and 3. There we go. I'll start stealing some oxygen from this manifold here. I'm going to redirect it so that it goes up. And I'll just let these fill up. All of these docks here, I still need to get power to them, but once all of these docks are full, I can assign a bunch of atmosuits and then move the duplicants into the housing unit here and seal off this area. This is why it's so pressurized. This deodorizer can reach down into this polluted oxygen, turn it into clean oxygen, and then it puts it up into this area. So this can fill at 4 pipes at a time, which is glorious. Now, technically, I can close this off and disallow the suited duplicants access to this area, and just let the non-suited duplicants go up through this transit tube into here. They will still get popped eardrums, but I'm okay with that. I'm expecting that. It'd be nice if I could get the bathroom online. Let's combine some pipes here. So clean water is there. Polluted water is here. So this just needs to jump over the clean water, which will be here and here, eventually. Then polluted water can just come down this way, all the way into these pipes here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pipes of polluted water. I'm not going to worry about that right now, I just need the one. It's going to go right through this cooling loop. Oh, there's stuff in the way here. Okay, it's definitely not the prettiest thing, but it works. Then I need to get clean water up to here. So I'm gonna do something quick and dirty again. Just connect into that pipe is fine. I'll work on cleaning this up, maybe between episodes. I just want this to work for now. It's also time I got in some liquid locks. Right here and right here. I need to get these two rooms vacuumed out. I want this atmosphere to be exclusively hydrogen, and this atmosphere to be exclusively steam. So I'll get in some gas pumps to remove all this unwanted gas. I'll just borrow some power from this line here. The permanent power wire will be across the bottom at this height. I can just come in through the wall right here. It's time to start delivering some of these suits. And I want to fill it up from both ends. I'll get in the checkpoint. To get the hydrogen I need in here, I'm going to use a canister emptier. And just stick it right there. And I'll be supplying it with the hydrogen from the electrolyzers here, using a canister filler. The way I want this shipping to work, it's going to go around like this. Just zigzag a little bit. So food can be shipped in from anywhere. It'll spend some time in this cold room, freeze, and then eventually all end up in this vacuum here where it can't exchange temperature anymore, and so it'll stay deep frozen, but the duplicants can still reach through the naphtha to access it. So I will set this to hydrogen and enable auto bottle. Now I need to get power up to this aqua tuner permanently. I'll do that with some transformers down here at the bottom. But I also have to remember that there will be a power output from these turbines. So what I'm actually going to do is put some inverted power transformers here. These will supply power to the grid. So I can just drop down a conductive wire, like that. Then I can pull power out for whatever I need here. Now I could theoretically have a thermosensor here with a shutoff to keep looping any material that's too warm. I don't think that's strictly necessary, but I'm gonna do it out of abundance of caution. So if, say, whatever is on this railing is ever above, say, -20, send it back through. And then it'll only be disabled when it is colder than -20, and so it'll bypass the shutoff and end up in the little holding cell. Alright, this is sealed up. It's a vacuum now. I can get in some water very carefully. I think I'll come up here, and then just bridge in. Because then I can turn on this aqua tuner and say if the ethanol in the cooling loop is ever above -25, well, I mean, I could actually go, like, really crazy, like -80. Turn on. And then this loop here, whenever it needs some cooling, will just steal a little bit of it, and then go on its way. I think we're good on hydrogen here. 13 kilos is probably more than enough. Let's get rid of this emptier. I'll double check, I don't need to do anything else in this room. So just come in, circulate, and then get dropped off. Yep, good. That's all that needs. So I can seal this room up now. And start shipping over some food. Let's come right through here. Connect over to the kitchen. I'll just put in a loader for all of the barbecue. So instead of putting all of the finished food into this refrigerator, I want it to go into this loader instead. Let's do barbecue, and I am making a little bit of pickled meal. Now that it is super cold in here, the barbecue it deep freezes before it even gets close to this. Alright, that's perfect. That's exactly how I wanted it to work. How about this pickled meal here? That is at -32. Yeah, we're fine. Now there is one small tweak I realized I need to make here after watching this for a little while. The new incoming food, it needs to be on bridge priority. Otherwise, the stuff coming out of the conveyor won't have a place to go. So even though it's supposed to bypass the chute and recirculate, it can't, because something coming in takes its place, so it just skips that and goes over to here, even though it shouldn't be. This is actually working beautifully now. You can see that this stops, things get temperature checked, and then when there's space, then they come in. I'm really glad I put this system in, rather than just having a free system. And then this I've set as low as like -95. Just to chill things as quickly as possible. The ethanol in this loop here, because it's the same liquid, I can get away with it. There's no way this ethanol could ever crack in these pipes if this is only ever set to 95. And because it's being set so low, whenever it does trigger, like right now, it was cooling off these tiles way too quickly, so I've changed everything to just normal piping. There's no radiant piping within the loop, except for where it drops off all of its heat. Liam's just about to finish up with the final touches here. Just need this to become a statue. Excellent. Get one last overview of the housing unit with all of the different rooms. So this top floor up here is just for transportation. I don't know if I'm going to bother with the nature reserve. That is a lot of morale, +6. I could always do that later if I need the morale. I don't need the morale right now. All of these are private bedrooms. I've got space to take on more duplicants in the next episode. This is a rec room with a arcade and a jukebox. It's kind of funny that this is actually classified as a power plant. I'm not going to be tuning these up. They're not going to run often enough to be worth it. We've got the washroom and the banquet hall with the new communal tables. I really like how I used these lumen quartz here on the display shelves. That adds the lit workspace bonus to the duplicants that are eating, so they actually eat faster. Over here is another rec room where they can relax in the sun. I don't have the sun lamps yet. I need to get into glass making so that I can put in a glass floor, and then the lamps actually take glass too to make. So we'll get into that in the next episode, or I might even do that between episodes. I do have a massage clinic here. I was dealing with a lot of popped eardrums when I first moved everyone in, but I probably don't need this anymore. There's so much stress relief from the carpeted tiles that it makes up for it almost completely. If we take a look at Catalina here, stress is at 0, and total change per cycle is a -40. Morale on all of the duplicants is through the roof, so 37 out of 23. Let's check on Liam here, 47 out of 17. Yeah, I think we're good. So in the future, I might change this from a massage clinic to a bionic duplicant bathroom and Well, they eat power banks, so they wouldn't need a banquet hall, but they would need the lubrication station and the gunk extractor. So I could put those two buildings in this area here. The best part of this whole thing, though, is the cold storage for all of the food. See, everything here is deep frozen, not refrigerated. That means it will last forever. So I don't have to worry about things spoiling anymore. So I'll go through all of the overlays here. You can see all of the breathable gases. Here is the power setup. Temperature is nice and controlled. The plumbing is quite confusing, but it's just 2 separate cooling loops and all of the plumbing for the bathrooms. Ventilation is also pretty simple, just some pipes over to vents. And decor is amazing. So there's definitely been some major improvements since the housing unit I made in the Overlay Science series like 5 years ago. So this should keep duplicants much happier. I think between episodes, I will get the main transit spine to traverse the entire vertical of the map. Now that my duplicants are guaranteed to be in atmosuits whenever they're not in the housing unit, I can explore more of the map a little recklessly. Before, I had to make sure that they were going through this section here because that was the only atmosuit dock. So I think in the next episode, I'll do a lot of digging and exploring. I can really open up the entire map. And I might even take on some more duplicants now that I have the space for it. And I think I'll also move the oxygen production to be closer to the housing unit to reduce how much piping I have going on in the map. I'll just put 2 of these electrolyzers right up above the housing unit up here. That way they can just go straight into all these docks. But it's hard to be dissatisfied with all of the progress I made in this episode. So thanks for watching, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next episode.